How can I play in this world without a system? Awakening system at the beginning, obtain the most eerie system of dissatisfaction. The system detected that the host envied Tang San for having a twin martial soul. The system expressed dissatisfaction and helped the host awaken the twin martial soul. The system has detected that the host is envious of Tang San's upcoming acquisition of the 8 spider spears with external soul bones. The system expresses dissatisfaction and offers the host the dragon phoenix ancient wing with external soul bones as a gift. The system has detected that the host is being abused by Xiaowu. The system expresses dissatisfaction and has given a soul Douluo experience card as a gift. Besides envy and dissatisfaction, can there be anything else to play with? Of course I can play. The system detected that the host prevented Tang San from absorbing the soul ring of the human-faced magic spider, overturning the original storyline and rewarding 800 attribute points. Keywords of the novel. Douluo's system is no longer satisfied with pop-ups, Douluo's system is no longer satisfied with downloading the complete text, and Douluo's system is no longer satisfied with reading the latest chapters. Chapter 1. Disobedience to the system. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 1 Disobedience to the system, Blue Silver Grass, Abandoned Martial Soul. In a hall, there is a young man who appears to be in his 20s, with sword eyebrows and starry eyes, and a handsome appearance. Dressed in white overalls, with a black robe at the back. At the center of the chest, there is a fist-sized soul character. The young man looked disappointed at the little boy with wheat-colored skin in front of him and softly called out, "Next. Uncle, you haven't tested my soul power yet." "No need to test, I haven't seen anyone with soul power appear in the blue silver grass martial soul yet." "Uncle, let's test your soul power." "It won't take much time either." "Okay, then let's test it out." The scene in front of the hall was unfolding as expected by a little boy present. This little boy has black hair and black eyes, and his clothes are heavily patched with overlapping patches. The skin is also wheat-colored, and those deep eyes seem to be able to perceive everything. This little boy's name is Ye Feng. I entered this hall this time to awaken my martial soul. Your situation is very special. Innate full soul power is a genius that is rare to see in 100 years. Unfortunately. It's really a pity. Even if your martial soul is a farming tool, it is much stronger than the useless martial soul blue silver grass. In that case, I can. Hey. Su Yuntao shook his head and sighed, his eyes fixed on the last one, Ye Feng, and shouted, "Next." Tang San still has many doubts in his heart. Especially when it comes to soul rings. Seeing Su Yuntao's words, he could only temporarily step aside and let Ye Feng enter this formation. Ye Feng stood in the formation, and the golden soul power began to seep into his body. The warm feeling is very comfortable. He felt that something like a shackle had been broken inside his body. Ding dong. The system has detected that the host is undergoing a martial soul awakening, triggering the condition for system awakening. The system is starting to bind to the host. Binding aggressiveness. 10%. Binding aggressiveness. 20%. Binding aggressiveness. 30%. A holographic progress bar image appeared in Ye Feng's mind. System. I'm finally going to have a golden finger. 6 years. System, do you know how I spent these 6 years? Golden finger. I finally want to have my own golden finger. If you want to become stronger, you finally have hope. Ye Feng's emotions were very excited and he wanted to laugh up in the sky. Despite his good nature, he managed to suppress all of this. Binding aggressiveness. 100%. I'm finally about to awaken my martial soul. Ye Feng glanced at Tang San, who stood obediently on the side. Tang San is still digesting the knowledge points he heard from Su Yuntao. Ye Feng paused in his heart and curiously said to himself, Tang San is not from Holy Soul Village. I heard from Grandpa Jack that I am not from Holy Soul Village either. Before my parents passed by, they happened to meet him and entrusted me to him. So my martial soul should not be a disabled martial soul. But then, I envy Tang San and awaken the twin martial souls. The son of Qi Yun is indeed the son of Qi Yun, different from others. Ding dong. The system detected that the host envied Tang San for having a twin martial soul. The system expressed dissatisfaction and helped the host awaken the twin martial soul. What, the 3 lives martial soul? Ye Feng was stunned in his heart, his eyes wide open. Yes, host, the system affirmed. System, you're not joking, are you? Ye Feng questioned. Throughout history, no one has ever possessed the 3 lives martial soul. Only 10,000 years later did a monster with a 3-life martial soul appear in Douluo continent. The system disdains joking. Host, please choose your first martial soul. The sound of the system fell, and a holographic image appeared in Ye Feng's mind. Ding Hai Shenzhen, Shiri Gong, Xian Yuan sword. The first martial soul, I choose Xian Yuan sword. Ye Feng said to himself without hesitation. Are you sure? The system asked. Sure. Ye Feng affirmed. In the Chinese realm, the sword is known as the ruler of 100 soldiers. Congratulations, you have obtained your first martial soul, Xian Yuan sword. Please continue to select the second martial soul, the system congratulated. Another scene appears in Ye Feng's ocean of consciousness. This scene is very different from the previous one, it is no longer a martial soul of the strong attack style. 9 treasure glass pagoda, blue silver emperor, 9 heart Xiantang, cold ice divine staff. System, let me introduce this 9-hearted Xiantang. Is it different from 9-hearted Haitang? Ye Feng asked curiously. Jiuxin Xiantang belongs to the mutated martial soul of Jiuxin Haitang, with a level comparable to that of Jiubao Glass Pagoda and Blue Silver Emperor. As a mutated martial soul, Jiuxin Xiantang is no longer limited to healing ability, but focuses on that mysterious character. It reflects its infinite possibilities. The system explained in detail. Okay, then my second martial soul will choose Jiuxin Xiantang, Ye Feng said with heart racing. As a time traveler, Ye Feng knows that there are 2 directions for the variation of martial souls. One is to mutate in a bad direction, such as the martial soul Luo San Pao of Deshiyu and Shao Gang. Another way is to mutate in a positive direction, such as the gusty wind with 2-headed magic wolves like Feng Xiaotian. Since the grade of Jiuxin Xiantang is not inferior to that of Jiubao Glass Pagoda and Blue Silver Emperor, its variation must be in a good direction. If you don't choose this martial soul, unless Ye Feng is foolish. Are you sure? The system asked. Sure. Ye Feng affirmed. Congratulations, you have obtained the second martial soul, 9 hearts Xiantang. Please continue to choose the third martial soul. Another different scene appears in Ye Feng's ocean of consciousness. Shura's eye, golden eye, heavenly golden eye, holy light's eye, hell's eye, undead's eye. Ye Feng discovered that the selection interface for the third martial soul was all I-type martial souls. If Ye Feng guesses correctly, the first martial soul is all the martial souls of the strong attack type, the second martial soul is the martial soul of the auxiliary type, and the third martial soul is the spiritual type. The meaning of the system is already very clear, which is to make Ye Feng follow the path of being a strong individual soldier. With the power of one person, one can fight against 10,000 people. Just choose the eye of hell. Ye Feng said. Are you sure? The system asked. I don't know which one to choose, so I have to randomly choose one. Just choose the eye of hell. Ye Feng said casually. Congratulations, you have obtained the third martial soul, the eye of hell. As the system spoke, Ye Feng's eyes were warm, with a warm current nourishing them. His left and right hands also have the same feeling. Child, are you deaf? I asked you to extend your right hand. The voice of Su Yuntao rang in Ye Feng's ear. Ye Feng followed his words and extended his right hand. That is a colorless begonia flower. Although crabapple has no color, its flower posture is extremely beautiful. Crystal clear, like an exquisite piece of jade. Radiant and colorful, extremely extraordinary. However, Su Yuntao shook his head and sighed, saying, pear flowers, without any color, are also useless martial souls. It seems that my holy soul village has gone for nothing again this time. Alright, let's go out. Upon hearing this, Ye Feng did not make it clear. Relying on his thoughts, he collected the 9 hearts Xiantang. He felt that before he grew up, whether his martial soul was good or bad, he just knew for himself. Ye Feng looked at Su Yuntao and reminded with a smile, Uncle, you haven't tested my soul power yet. End of this chapter. Chapter 2 Ye Feng. I am stronger than Qianren Xue. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Ye Feng. I am stronger than Qianren Xue, no need to test, I haven't seen a child with soul power whose martial soul is a pear blossom yet. Su Yuntao's tone was flat, and with a wave of his hand, he put away the 6 jade stones used to awaken his martial soul. Alright, children, you can leave now. Uncle, blue silver grass is also a useless martial soul. You have also conducted a martial soul test on him, and it won't take long to test his soul power. Why don't I give it a try too? Ye Feng insisted. Ye Feng has awakened his 3-life martial soul. One of the martial souls is still Xianyuan sword, and the other martial soul is Jiuxin Xiantang. As for the Eye of Hell, it is impossible to determine its accurate level. But one thing is certain. That is the soul power possessed by the soul master when awakening the martial soul, which will be directly proportional to the quality of the awakened martial soul. Since one of Ye Feng's martial souls is Xianyuan sword, Ye Feng would have soul power no matter what. Su Yuntao looked at Ye Feng and felt that he was another somewhat different child besides Tang San. Okay. Test your soul power, it won't waste too much time. Su Yuntao still didn't have a good view of Ye Feng, touching the storage soul guide. With a flick of his finger, a blue crystal ball flew in front of Ye Feng. The method of testing soul power is very simple, just make the palm of the hand resist the blue crystal ball, and the crystal ball can automatically sense the level of its own soul power. Ye Feng glanced at Tang San and let his palm slowly touch the blue crystal ball. At the moment when Ye Feng's hand touched the crystal ball, he felt an energy being triggered within his body. Then the crystal ball lit up with a blue light. The blue light grew stronger and stronger, and in the end, it illuminated the entire hall, causing some pain to the eyes. This is... Su Yuntao was stunned. On the one hand, Tang San was also stunned. The light that the crystal ball lit up this time was even stronger than Tang San's. The crystal ball not only lit up a dazzling blue light, but also trembled violently. It seems that Ye Feng's soul power has reached its limit. Bang! Finally, an explosion sounded. The blue crystal ball exploded. This. Su Yuntao petrified on the spot. Tang San did the same, staring blankly at the boy with black hair and eyes beside him. Uncle, what level of soul power is my? Ye Feng asked curiously. Su Yuntao did not come to his senses and was still shocked by the scene before him, unable to speak. Whenever a crystal ball shines with even a faint light, it can prove that the awakened martial soul possesses soul power. Just now, when Tang San tested his soul power, the crystal ball's radiance was dazzling, and his soul power level reached innate full soul power. That is level 10. Now Ye Feng tests his soul power, and the crystal ball explodes directly. Su Yuntao let out a long breath and looked down at Ye Feng in shock. When he became the deacon of the Martial Soul Hall, Matthew Noah, the deacon of the Martial Soul Hall in Notting City, had told him that the maximum tolerance of this crystal ball was level 20. Once the soul power exceeds level 20, the crystal ball will explode and explode. That is to say, the child who awakens the pear blossom martial soul in front of him has exceeded level 20 in soul power. Surprisingly, he is an innate soul master. Uncle! Ye Feng called out softly. Su Yuntao's gaze was filled with shock and he exclaimed, "Child, you are actually at level 20 of innate full soul power. Innate soul power is 20 levels. Tang San murmured, and Ye Feng's soul power was actually 10 levels higher than him. Is it level 20? Ye Feng raised his eyebrows slightly. Ye Feng remembers the young lady of the martial soul hall. When she awakened her martial soul, she was born with a full soul power of level 20. Now that Ye Feng has awakened his martial soul, his innate full soul power is actually level 20. Ye Feng was not satisfied with this in his heart and murmured, having 3 martial souls, 2 of which were still Xianyuan's sword and Jiuxin Xiantang. In the end, his innate soul power was only at level 20. He Qianren Xue is a martial soul, and his innate soul power is level 20. Is my third martial soul, Hell's Eye, a useless martial soul? Ye Feng complained inwardly, but he found that this time the system did not feel dissatisfied with it. Regarding this, Ye Feng couldn't help but ponder. Isn't my innate soul power at level 20? Because Ye Feng's innate soul power is not at level 20, the system did not feel dissatisfied with it. The more Ye Feng pondered, the more he confirmed his inner speculation. His innate soul power may not be level 20. Child, come back to the Martial Soul Hall with me. Enter the Martial Soul Hall Soul Master Academy for comprehensive learning. With your talent, when you graduate from the Martial Soul Hall Soul Master Academy, you will at least be a deacon like me. Su Yuntao was a little excited and walked up to Ye Feng, inviting him. Most people awaken their martial souls without soul power. Destined to never become a soul master in one's lifetime. Although Ye Feng's martial soul is the abandoned martial soul, pear flower, his innate soul power is at level 20. As long as he obtains 2 soul rings, he can become a great soul master. It already meets the recruitment standards of the Soul Master Academy of the Martial Soul Hall. If it weren't for Ye Feng's awakened martial soul being a useless martial soul, pear blossom. Even if one cultivates, to what extent can one cultivate? Otherwise, Su Yuntao would not have asked Ye Feng if he was willing to join the Martial Soul Hall. Even if Su Yuntao knocked out Ye Feng, he still wanted to bring him into the Martial Soul Hall. Pear flower martial soul, abandoned martial soul. Su Yuntao didn't realize that Ye Feng had obtained 2 soul rings, and after becoming a great soul master, he could still cultivate to the Soul Lord realm. Is the Soul Master Academy of the Martial Soul Hall also located in Nodding City? Ye Feng asked knowingly. The Soul Master Academy of the Martial Soul Hall is located in the Martial Soul City, several hundred kilometers away from here, Su Yuntao replied. Surprisingly so far. That's better not to do it. I'm still young and don't want to study too far from home. Ye Feng smiled and politely declined Su Yuntao, glancing at Tang San. After a simple communication with the system, Ye Feng learned that the full name of the system bound to him is the Supreme Chaos, the founder of the Heavenly Supreme Ancestor, the Supreme Disruption and Disobedience System. Abbreviated as not conforming to the system. Ye Feng murmured inwardly around Tang San that Tang San had a twin martial soul, but the system refused, so he received the reward of the twin martial soul. Since that's the case, Ye Feng naturally doesn't want to leave Tang San. In addition, the Soul Master Academy that enters the Martial Soul Hall may be excavated by Bibi Dong for his existence, and even included as his legitimate disciple and rewarded with 3 soul bones by Bibi Dong. These are certainly good. However, Ye Feng is a traveler who is familiar with the future development of Douluo continent. Following Tang San's side, everything that happens in the future is familiar to Ye Feng. If you go to the Martial Soul Hall Academy, then what happens around you is beyond Ye Feng's control. Moreover, if Ye Feng wants to join the Martial Soul Hall, he will have another chance to join after participating in the elite competition of the Advanced Soul Master Academy across the continent. That opportunity will be to join the Martial Soul Hall with a radiant body. The meaning cannot be the same as at this moment. So after careful consideration, Ye Feng refused Su Yuntao's invitation. I plan to have a lewd development and not be promiscuous. Okay. If you change your mind, then go to Nodding City to find me. There are still 3 months left until the start of the Soul Master Academy in the Martial Soul Hall. Su Yuntao thought of Ye Feng's martial soul, after all, being just an abandoned martial soul, and stopped persuading him. As he spoke, he walked out of the Martial Soul Hall in Holy Soul Village. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Mist. This time, Ye Feng envies Tang San for having a title Douluo. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Mist. This time, Ye Feng envies Tang San for having a father named Douluo. Master, how's it going? Are there any children in our village who can become soul masters this year? Old Jack asked anxiously. Oh, there are indeed so too. And they are also innate full soul power. Su Yuntao replied. Innate soul power. Old Jack's eyes lit up. One has an innate full soul power of level 10, and the other has an innate full soul power of level 20, Su Yuntao added. There's another innate soul power level 20. Old Jack's eyes widened and he stood still, stunned and speechless. For a village, it is unprecedented for any child with a little soul power to appear. As for the innate full soul power of level 20, this has never happened in Holy Soul Village before. Alas, unfortunately, one of their martial souls is blue silver grass, and the other is pear blossom. Do you understand? Su Yuntao sighed. Blue silver grass. Pear blossom. Innate soul power. Master, can blue silver grass and pear blossom really be unable to cultivate? Old Jack asked unwillingly. It's not impossible to cultivate at all. It's just that you think blue silver grass and pear blossom can evolve into what they look like with the improvement of their martial soul. Su Yuntao's tone was flat, and he glanced at Ye Feng and Tang San who had already walked out of the hall, regretfully saying, the useless martial soul is ultimately the useless martial soul. These two innate full soul powers are really a pity. Alright, I have to go to another village to help the child awaken their martial soul. Let's go first. After Su Yuntao finished speaking, he turned around and left here. Leave behind the old Jack who is deeply conflicted in his heart. Grandpa Jack, what is a soul ring? How can I obtain a soul ring? Tang San walked up to old Jack and asked him about it. I don't know what a soul ring is. To obtain a soul ring, it seems like you need to hunt soul beasts, which is something that soul masters can do. Old Jack replied to Tang San's words, paused for a moment, looked at Tang San, and asked, Xiao San, are you not the child who the master said has innate full soul power? I am only at level 10 of innate full soul power, but Ye Feng is at level 20 of innate full soul power. Tang San glanced at Ye Feng walking slowly behind him, his tone and words with a hint of envy. Tang San had been practicing Xiantian Gong for several years, but in the end, his soul power was even 10 levels lower than Ye Feng's. I can't even catch up with Ye Feng when I hang up. Ye Feng, is your innate soul power really at level 20? Old Jack questioned. Looking at Ye Feng's expression, he was slightly less shocked than Tang San. Yes, Ye Feng replied. Martial soul, show me your martial soul, old Jack demanded. Ye Feng followed his words and extended his right hand. A jade-like begonia flower appeared in the palm of his hand. Sure enough, it's very similar to her, but the color is not right. Old Jack whispered to himself. Who is similar to you? Ye Feng raised his eyebrows and asked curiously. The martial soul of a soul master is inherited from his parents. Most people will inherit the martial soul of one side. Some people may also experience a situation of returning to their ancestors, awakening the martial souls of their grandfathers, grandmothers, and even great-grandfathers and great-grandmothers from generation to generation. Ye Feng has been an orphan since childhood, and there is a tomb with no characters in the village. Old Jack told Ye Feng that his parents were buried together in that tomb. No matter how much Ye Feng asked, Old Jack wouldn't tell Ye Feng about his parents. The villagers only know that one day when Old Jack returned from outside, there were 2 corpses on the carriage and a baby in his arms waiting to be fed. That's all. Now Old Jack's words have aroused Ye Feng's curiosity. Ye Feng, you're not allowed to become a soul master. Did you hear that? Old Jack ordered in a serious tone. Why are you not allowed to become a soul master? Ye Feng asked. I can't say for sure, Old Jack said in a domineering tone. That's not possible, I'm in charge of my life, Ye Feng retorted. You. Old Jack glared at Ye Feng angrily, paused for a moment, and thought of something. In a calm tone, he said, our village only has 1 quota for part-time students. I am the village chief, and I won't give you the quota. I'll see how you can register for the Junior Soul Master Academy. Am I still your adopted son? Ye Feng roared angrily. That's why I can decide whether you want to study at the Junior Soul Master Academy. Old Jack smiled cunningly and looked at Tang San seductively, asking, Tang San, tell Grandpa, would you be willing to go to a specialized school to learn the cultivation methods of soul masters? Only there can there be the most accurate knowledge about martial souls. I need to ask my dad about this, Tang San replied. Good child, this kind of thing is to ask your father. Let's go, I'll take you home. Old Jack touched Tang San's head, completely treating Ye Feng, who was even better than Tang San, as heir. Grandpa Jack, did you just say that there is only 1 quota for working-class students in our village? Yes, the quota for this engineering student is yours. It's just that Ye Feng's soul power is higher than mine. So what? With the increase of soul power, his useless martial soul can evolve into what it looks like. This seems unfair to him. I am the village chief, and he was raised by me. If I leave the quota for working students to him and don't give it to you, it would be unfair. Old Jack and Tang San walked further and further away, and the conversation went from near to far. Left Ye Feng alone here. Ye Feng picked up a stone from the ground and smashed it fiercely at the pillar with the Soul Saint's handprint. He angrily said, damn it. Ye Feng looked at the backs of Old Jack and Tang San. With a frown, I began to feel worried. Since Old Jack didn't give Ye Feng a spot as a vocational student, Ye Feng couldn't go to the Junior Soul Master Academy in Notting City to study. If he can't go to the Soul Master Academy to study, no one will help him hunt soul beasts to obtain soul rings, and he won't be able to see Xiaowu. Old Jack's words interrupted Ye Feng's original plan. Do you want me to go find Su Yuntao and study at the Soul Master Academy in the Martial Soul Hall? Ye Feng couldn't help but think of Su Yuntao's invitation. Before Su Yuntao left, he had to explain that if he changed his mind, he could go to the Martial Soul Hall in Notting City to find him. Little mistress, I didn't expect your talent to be so outstanding. Unfortunately, you have such a father. There isn't a good martial soul passed down to you. Otherwise, maybe you could really become the second soul saint in our village. Old Jack's voice came from afar. Ye Feng pursed his lips and murmured softly, Tang San's father is not a simple person, but a Haotian Douluo from the renowned Soul Master realm. Moreover, Tang San has inherited his father's martial soul Haotian hammer. If you go this time, Tang Hao will definitely agree to let Tang San study at the Soul Master Academy. I really envy Tang San. He had a biological father named Douluo at the beginning. If I had one too, why would I be so poor that I couldn't even afford to attend a Soul Master Academy? Ding dong. The system detected that the host envied Tang San for having a father named Douluo. The system expressed dissatisfaction and gave the host a master named Douluo as a gift. P.S. Let's guess, who will be Ye Feng's master? The launch of a new book is inseparable from everyone's support. Seeking collections, recommending tickets, seeking comments. All kinds of requests. The rise of new books brings glory to you. Crush the last collection, last recommendation ticket, and last comment of the top one, give up who you are. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Apprenticeship, title Douluo. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Apprenticeship, title Douluo, Gift. Gift. Gift me a master. Ye Feng was stunned. He was just muttering to himself that Tang San had a father named Douluo, and the system was actually going to give Ye Feng a master as a gift. And he is also a master at the Douluo level. Few a burst of air sounded. A figure descended from the sky. The newcomer appears to be an old man from the outside. Wearing a spotless snow-white robe, with white beard and hair, a head of silver long hair neatly combed at the back, with an ancient and simple appearance. Her face was as delicate as a baby's, and her expression was very indifferent. Her eyes seemed to be unable to see anything around her, but she stood quietly without speaking. But he just stood there and still gave people a feeling of heaven, earth, and all things, being exclusive to oneself. The old man fell with his sword and set foot on the land of Holy Soul Village. Looking around, the final gaze fell on Ye Feng. The old man was looking at Ye Feng, and Ye Feng was also looking at the old man who suddenly came to Holy Soul Village. Few immediately after, another sound of breaking wind sounded. A person appeared on the nearby roof, jumped down, and landed steadily beside the old man without making any sound. The second person to appear is a middle-aged person. Her face is like a crown of jade, her nose is straight and her mouth is square. Her appearance is elegant and gentle, and she is dressed in a pure white robe that is spotless. He looks around 40 years old, with a soft gaze that looks like an ordinary person no matter what. A head of soft black hair draped behind, everything looked so casual without any affectation. Uncle Jian, is this here? The middle-aged man asked. Just now, why did it suddenly disappear now? The old man looked puzzled, and his voice was like a sharp blade, capable of cutting through a person's heart. Sword uncle. Ye Feng was stunned as he listened to the middle-aged man's address to the old man. Throughout the Soul Master realm, there are very few people who have such strong cultivation, white hair and beard, flying swords, and being called sword uncle. In Ye Feng's mind, he thought of a person named Qianren, the guardian of the 7 treasures glass sect's Douluo swordsmanship. Ye Feng looked at the middle-aged man. Dressed in luxurious attire. I believe he must be Ning Fengji, the leader of the 7 treasures glass sect. Calculating the time, it's time for the school-aged children in the nearby village to awaken their martial souls. Could it be that he has already left? Ning Fengji asked thoughtfully. I don't think he has left. Kendo Chen Xien stared at Ye Feng. Kendo Qianren and Ning Fengji, just as they passed by here, Kendo Qianren suddenly felt a wonderful wave. This fluctuating aura is not weak, and he, who is obsessed with swords, can feel that there are people around him with powerful sword-like martial souls. From the fluctuations emanating from the opponent's martial soul, Kendo Qianren can distinguish that the opponent possesses a martial soul with qualities no less than his 7-kill sword. With curiosity in mind, Kendo Qianren and Ning Fengji finally arrived at the Martial Soul Hall in Holy Soul Village. Soul Power Level 30. Ning Fengji looked at Ye Feng and blurted out. Level 30. Ye Feng's expression was taken aback. Ye Feng has just awakened his martial soul and doesn't know how to hide his soul power. Under Ning Fengji's scrutiny, he immediately gained insight into his soul power level. Ye Feng finally understands now. Why did the system not reward him before when he complained? It turned out that his innate soul power level was 10 levels higher than Qianren Xue's. Nature does not meet the prerequisite for triggering rewards. Child, what is your martial soul? Let me see. Jiandao Qinxin's tone was plain, filled with an unquestionable color. Okay, Ye Feng smiled slightly and flipped his right hand empty-handed. Jiuxin Xiantang appeared in the palm of his hand. Nine-hearted begonia. Ning Fengji, who possessed the martial soul of the Seven Treasures Glass Pagoda, looked stunned. For Ning Fengji, his martial soul, the Seven Treasures Glass Pagoda, is recognized as the first auxiliary weapon martial soul in the mainland. However, only he knows that the true first auxiliary weapon martial soul in the mainland is not the Seven Treasures Glass Pagoda, but the Nine Hearts Begonia. So, Ning Fengji has a special emotional attachment to the martial soul of Jiuxin Haitang. Seeing the martial soul summoned by Ye Feng, I immediately thought of Jiuxin Haitang. No, this is not Jiuxin Haitang. It looks the same as Jiuxin Haitang, but the color and material are obviously not right. Ning Fengji fell into contemplation and looked at Ye Feng's martial soul. Although Ye Feng's martial soul is shaped like a nine-hearted begonia, it has no color and is transparent in texture, as if carved from jade. Although Ye Feng's martial soul was not a nine-hearted begonia, Ning Fengji still looked at Ye Feng in shock. Because he had already sensed that Ye Feng's martial soul quality was on top of the Seven Treasures Glass Pagoda. Kendo Chen also had a shocked expression in his heart, and after a moment, he returned to normal. I'm not referring to your martial soul, I'm referring to your sword-shaped martial soul. Sword-shaped martial soul. Ning Fengji looked at Ye Feng in surprise, murmuring the words of Jiandao Qinxin, almost petrifying on the spot and exclaiming, Uncle Jian, do you mean that he has awakened his twin martial souls? Jiandao Qinxin nodded. As if discovering a golden mountain, his eyes were fixed on Ye Feng with fiery enthusiasm. Not only is Ning Fengji, a swordsman with a heart full of dust and wealth, but he also gazes at Ye Feng with fiery eyes. Throughout history, it is well known that there are only two soul masters of twin martial souls. One of them is the current martial soul Temple Pope Bibidon. If a soul master can have two martial souls, it means that the number of his soul rings will skyrocket to 18. Soul rings can increase various attributes of soul masters. If there are 9 more soul rings, the benefits to soul masters are self-evident. However, Jiandao Qinxin and Ning Fengji did not know that Ye Feng's number of martial souls was not 2, but 3. The soul rings that Ye Feng can finally possess are not 18, but 20.7. Child, show me your sword-shaped martial soul. Kendo Qinxin strongly demanded. Okay, Ye Feng replied helplessly. The martial soul of Jiandao Qinxin is the 7-kill sword. As a titled Douluo, he also loves swords like his life. Nowadays, Ye Feng doesn't even know how to hide his soul power, and being detected by the other party as possessing a sword-shaped martial soul is not something worth curious about. Ye Feng raised his left hand, and a golden-sleeved sword suspended in the palm of his hand. On one side of the sword, the sun, moon, and stars are engraved, while on the other side, the mountains, rivers, plants, and trees are engraved. On one side of the sword handle, there is a book about farming and animal husbandry techniques, and on the other side, there is a book about the strategy of unifying the 4 seas. Flowing light and colorful, with extraordinary momentum. Although the golden pocket sword does not have any soul rings attached, small ripples can still be seen around it. Long after the appearance of the sword, Kendo Qinxin could clearly feel his 7-kill sword soul constantly throbbing. It's like encountering something terrifying. Child, you have truly awakened the twin martial souls. Ning Fengji was very excited and his eyes were fixed on Ye Feng, asking, Child, have you ever been engaged? Child, have you ever been engaged? Ye Feng and Kendo Qinxin were stunned and looked at Ning Fengji in surprise. The intention is already very clear, Ning Fengji wants Ning Rongrong and Ye Feng to be engaged. Fengji. Jiandao Qinxin exclaimed softly. Cough. Ning Fengji coughed awkwardly for a moment, paused, and asked, "Child, where are your parents? Can you take uncle to see your parents?" "My parents have already died," Ye Feng replied. "Dead?" Ning Feng raised his eyebrows slightly. The wedding banquet is a big event, arranged by parents and arranged by matchmakers. Ye Feng's parents have already died, which makes Ning Fengji have no way to deal with Ye Feng. "Child, what's your name?" Kendo Qinshin's sword-like gaze penetrated Ning Fengji's thoughts and turned to ask Ye Feng. "Ye Feng. The leaves of the leaves, the peaks of the mountains." "Ye Feng." Ye Feng replied. "Ye Feng. The leaves are green and the flowers are blooming beautifully, and the top of the peak is surrounded by many small mountains." "Good name." Jiandao Qinshin praised him, paused, and then said, "It seems that today my Jiandao Qinshin will also persist for a while." "Persist once." Ye Feng was taken aback in his heart. Is it true that the underworld swordsman Qinshin wants to take him as his disciple? End of this chapter. Chapter 5. The fee for changing the account given by Douluo. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. The fee for changing the account given by Douluo as a time traveler. Ye Feng clearly remembers that when Yu Shaojiang wanted to take Tang San as his disciple, he also said he wanted to persist once. Now seeing Qinshin also said such words. Does Kendo Qinshin want to take Ye Feng as his disciple? "Do you want to teach me martial souls?" Ye Feng asked thoughtfully and tentatively. He didn't forget, the system said to give him a master named Douluo as a gift. The system had just finished speaking, but Kendo Qinshin and Ning Fengji appeared. It's hard not to let Ye Feng imagine this. You are indeed very smart. Kendo Qinshin looked at Ye Feng with satisfaction and felt even more satisfied with him. He is exceptionally talented and so intelligent. He is also the third soul master to awaken twin martial souls in 100 years. Master, from now on, you will be my Kendo Qinshin's legitimate disciple. Will there be a change of speech fee for apprenticeship? Ye Feng asked with a smile. What? Kendo Qinshin asked in a tone of shock. I heard from the people in the village that after apprenticeship, the master will pay a change of speech fee, right? Ye Feng asked seriously. Change of mouth fee. Kendo Qinshin murmured repeatedly. My thoughts still haven't come to my senses. Isn't it? Is it only the story in the storybook that has such a situation? Ye Feng pursed his lips and looked at Jiandao Qinshin, clearly lacking in beauty. Ye Feng's gaze fell into the eyes of Kendo Qinshin, but it left Kendo Qinshin speechless. Ye Feng's gaze was clearly a look of loss. Dare to say, Ye Feng learned from his swordsmanship master Chen Xian, but he still suffered a loss. Uncle Jian, this child is really clever. Ning Fengji couldn't help but laugh and cry, admiring Ye Feng. As the head of the Seven Treasures Glass sect, Ning Fengji knows that there are many disciples in the sect who hope to worship Chen Xian as their teacher. As a result, I begged my grandfather to tell my grandmother, but still did not succeed in learning from my teacher. Now, Ye Feng has become a disciple with a heavy heart. Unexpectedly, I have to change my speaking fee as soon as I open my mouth. If such a thing were to be known by those who once wanted to become a disciple but failed in their heart, I don't know how they would feel inside. Qinshin nodded, knowing that Ning Fengji was also interested in Ye Feng, and compromised, saying, of course, there will be a change of speech fee for apprenticeship. After apprenticeship, there will naturally be a change of speech fee. Master, please accept my disciple's bow. Without hesitation, Ye Feng respectfully bowed to the swordsman Chen Xian. This bow, but kneeling on both knees. What are you doing? Kendo Qinshin asked in surprise. Master. Ye Feng replied. Don't you know this is the etiquette of meeting the king and his biological parents? As a disciple, just bow. Kendo Qinshin smiled rare. He will soon have a proud disciple. And it's also a twin martial soul, with innate full soul power of level 30. At that time, he will definitely be able to boast in front of Douluo Gu Rong for a lifetime. Tian Di Jun's personal teacher. One day as a teacher, one lifetime as a father. You should accept my kneeling worship. Ye Feng finished speaking and kowtowed 3 times towards Jiandao Qinshin. Get up, Kendo Chen waved his heart and soul power into a strong wind, lifting Ye Feng up. Immediately after, Kendo Chen waved his hand and an object emitting a silver light floated in front of Ye Feng. Is this my change of speech fee? Ye Feng asked in surprise. As a time traveler, he knows exactly what this glowing thing is. That's right, this is what I gave you. The change fee. It's called the Wild Ape Heavenly Right Arm Bone. This is a top-notch soul bone that has a lifespan of 90,000 years. It has a skill that can put oneself into a frenzy state and instantly increase attack power by 100%. Kendo Qinshin replied. The wild ape lifted the right arm bone. Ye Feng murmured repeatedly. Although soul bones are not 100,000 years old, they have a lifespan of 90,000 years. Any soul ring that has been worn for over 10,000 years is a high-quality soul bone. If such a soul bone falls outside, it will definitely cause a bloody storm. The human body can obtain a total of 6 types of soul bones, namely the head soul bone, trunk bone, right arm bone, left arm bone, right leg bone, and left leg bone. In addition, there are relatively rare external soul bones. Sitting cross-legged, I will tell you how to absorb this soul bone, Kendo Qinshin instructed. Yes, master. Ye Feng nodded and took 2 deep breaths, calming down the excitement in his heart. Ye Feng not only studied under the title Douluo, but also received a top-notch soul bone with a lifespan of 90,000 years as a gift from his master. Under the guidance of Kendo Qinshin, Ye Feng absorbed the right arm bone of the mad ape Qin Tian on the spot. This is a small square in front of the Martial Soul Hall in Holy Soul Village, and few people come here usually. Even if someone comes here, there are still 2 people, Qinshin and Ningfengji, who protect Ye Feng. In about half an hour, Ye Feng absorbed the bone of the right arm of the mad ape Qin Tian. He can feel the explosive force contained in his arms. As long as his mind moves, his strength will double. For this peculiar ability, he called it double the combat power. Ye Feng, why don't you return to the 7 Treasures Glass sect with us? Chen Xue invited. No, master. I want to enter the Junior Soul Master Academy in Notting City and comprehensively learn about Soul Masters. Ye Feng refused Chen Xue's kindness. He has such a unique system, and it only took him a while to gain so many benefits. For Ye Feng, it is natural to continue to gain benefits by following Tang San's side, becoming stronger and stronger again. If Ye Feng goes to the 7 Treasures Glass sect, what is the difference between joining the Martial Soul Hall? When it comes to the 7 Treasures Glass sect, what happens will not be familiar to Ye Feng. Ye Feng naturally refused. Qinshin talked to Ye Feng for a while again, and seeing Ye Feng's determination, he had to compromise and say, okay. But you have to promise me something. What's up? Ye Feng asked curiously. Without my permission, don't attach any soul rings to your second martial soul until you become a title Douluo, said Chen Xue in a serious tone. Okay, master, Ye Feng replied without hesitation. Knowing that Qinshin is so demanding is because he wants the soul rings attached to Ye Feng's second martial soul, all of which are soul rings with a lifespan of 10,000 years. Ye Feng paused for a moment and playfully asked, I can't add a soul ring to my second martial soul. Can I add a soul ring to my third martial soul? Qinshin is Ye Feng's master, and the cost of changing his mouth is a priceless soul bone with a lifespan of 90,000 years. Ning Fengji and Chen Xue have a strong friendship, and the latter is still the guardian Douluo of the sect where the former resides. Ye Feng had no intention of hiding the secret of the 3 lives martial soul from these 2 important people in his life. Of course, the prerequisite is that Ye Feng knows the character of Chen Xue and Ning Feng. What? Do you still have a 3rd martial soul? Qianren and Ning Fengji were stunned and asked Ye Feng in a tone of astonishment. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. The Family Tradition of the Chen Family. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. The Family Tradition of the Chen Family. Ye Feng nodded. Wait, are you saying you have awakened the 3 lives martial soul? Ning Fengji asked with a suspicious temperament. Yes, Ye Feng nodded. Ning Fengji and Chen Xue exchanged a glance and could see the shocked expression in each other's eyes. What is your 3rd martial soul? Ning Fengji asked curiously and questioning. He doesn't believe what Ye Feng said is true. He didn't believe that there were people in this world who possessed the 3 lives martial soul. 3 lives martial soul. Once you awaken the soul master of the 3 lives martial soul, add 27 soul rings. This will be a terrifying concept. My 3rd martial soul is called the Eye of Hell, Ye Feng said as he summoned his 3rd martial soul. Ye Feng's eyes all turned black. The eerie and dark colors, if stared at for a long time, seemed to be able to trap a person's soul. 3 lives martial soul. 3 lives martial soul. Ning Fengji and Chen Xue blurted out, both petrified on the spot, staring blankly at Ye Feng. It wasn't until Ye Feng put away his martial soul hell eye that Ning Fengji and Chen Xue regained their senses. Uncle Jian, you found a treasure this time. Ning Fengji smiled happily and sincerely congratulated Chen Xue. Well, this trip to Barak Kingdom is indeed worth it. Kendo Qianren also smiled and looked at Ye Feng with fiery eyes. As if Ye Feng was a huge golden mountain. Ye Feng, you must remember. You are not allowed to tell anyone in the future, as you possess the 3 lives martial soul. Externally, you can only claim that your martial soul is the one on the proof of the martial soul hall. Do you remember? Okay, Master, Ye Feng replied. After a pause, he playfully asked, Master, can I add a soul ring to the 3rd martial soul? Chen Xue was taken aback in his heart. Chen Xue's beard and hair are all white, and he has lived for an age. How could I not know that Ye Feng was pretending to be coerced? Ye Feng was extremely scared that he possessed a 3-life martial soul. But then it came back. Ye Feng awakened his 3-life martial soul. Even if he wanted to keep a low profile, his strength did not allow it. Of course not. Jiandao Qianren replied solemnly, your 3rd and 2nd martial souls must be the same. You can only attach soul rings to them after you grow up to become a titled Douluo. At that time, your 2nd and 3rd martial souls will all have soul rings that are over 10,000 years old. Is it a lifespan of 10,000 years? Ye Feng asked in a plain tone. Jiandao Qianren nodded heavily. Jiandao Qianren didn't notice Ye Feng's tone at all. Ye Feng's tone was clearly not satisfied with the soul ring that had been around for thousands of years. Tuer, come here. Kendo Qianren summoned the 7-kill sword of the martial soul and then asked Ye Feng to stand on it. Fly up high with Ye Feng and land on a hill. Holy Soul Village is nestled by mountains and rivers. At this moment, a mountain peak is blocking the way in front of Kendo's Qianren and Ye Feng. Jiandao Qianren's eyes emitted a silver light, and his entire aura surged. Tuer, you have a good eye on it. The words of Kendo Qianren fell, and the aura of the 7-kill sword merged with the soul power around his body. Sword is the heart of dust is the sword. No longer separate from each other. Then, Kendo Qianren waved his hand and fell. A sword blade that stretches hundreds of zhang is condensed. Unstoppable, fiercely splitting towards the mountain peak ahead. Bang! Heaven and earth trembled, and all the surrounding scenery was rendered silver. The dazzling light makes people unable to open their eyes. A powerful shock wave is spreading towards the surroundings. Jiandao Qinchin. Tang Hao murmured in shock. From the fluctuation of soul power's aura, Tang Hao had already distinguished that the summoner was the sword dust heart. Tang Hao, I have decided to give the third party the spot for the working class student in the village this year. Let him go to the Junior Soul Master Academy in Nottingham City to study, and the village will cover all the travel expenses. That's the deal. I want to go see what happened just now. Old Jack said as he walked out of Tang Hao's blacksmith shop with a cane. Tang Hao ignored Old Jack and many questions surged in his heart. He couldn't figure out the reason why Kendo Qinchin took action in Holy Soul Village. It doesn't seem like it's because of him either. As Tang San was here and Old Jack was also here, Tang Hao suppressed his curiosity and did not impulsively go to see what was going on. On the mountaintop, Ye Feng gazed at the mountain peak ahead, dumbfounded. The steep mountain peak, which was originally 100 meters high, was split in half by the sword of Kendo Qinchin. A main road leads directly to the outside world. This kola caters to the villagers of Holy Soul Village who need to sell vegetables and enter and exit. Did you see it clearly? Jiandao Qinchin asked. Ye Feng nodded, then shook his head, and then nodded and shook his head again. The scene just now gave Ye Feng a strange feeling. He clearly remembered the movements of Kendo Qinchin, but when he wanted to capture them, he found that it was just a casual move. As if there is something but not, as if there is nothing but nothing. This wonderful feeling is difficult to describe in words. Don't worry. Kendo Qinchin touched Ye Feng's hair and said with a serious tone, the move I just made was called Ren Jian Hei, which is a family soul skill of my Chen family. It took me 10 years to comprehend it. Remember, this move must not be passed on without my permission. Yes, Master, Ye Feng replied. At this time, Ning Fengji also came here. Alright, I'm leaving. You insist on studying at the Junior Soul Master Academy in Nottingham City, and as a teacher, I won't force you. Fengji and I have one more thing to deal with. After we finish dealing with it, I'll go find you and help you obtain the first 3 soul rings. Kendo Qinchin's tone can cut through a person's soul. Okay, Master, Ye Feng obediently replied. Fengji, let's go, Jiandao Qinchin called out. Wait for Master, Ye Feng exclaimed anxiously. Do you have anything else to say? Jiandao Qinchin turned around and looked at the newly recruited disciple. There's nothing special to say. So. Master. Do you have money? Ye Feng sneered. Money. Jiandao Qinchin's expression was taken aback. It seems unexpected that Ye Feng called him out for money. Ye Feng nodded and explained with a casual expression, to enter the college for study, you need a registration fee. Not much, just 5 golden soul coins. Don't worry, I will definitely repay you when I have money. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Kendo Qinchin smiled, and Ning Fengji followed suit. Ning Fengji flicked his finger and took out a black card from the storage soul guide. He smiled and said, there are 10,000 gold soul coins inside. You can spend them as you want, no need to repay them. Uncle Jian has already given you a gift, so let's treat it as Uncle Ning's greeting gift. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Ye's Tomb. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Ye's Tomb. Holy Soul Village boasts beautiful mountains and waters, with birds singing and flowers fragrant. On the back mountain of Xinghun Village, the deceased ancestors of Xinghun Village are buried. According to burial customs, the tombstone must bear the person's birth and death dates, as well as various information about their father and son generations. However, on the back mountain of Holy Soul Village, there are 2 very strange tombs. There are only 4 simple big characters above. The tomb of the Ye family. In front of these two cemeteries, there stands an elderly man who appears to be in his 60s. The old man has a slender figure, but he is full of energy. His clothes are clean and tidy, and his hair is meticulously combed. The old man looked at the tombstone and sighed to himself, "Two of you, there's really nothing I can do. I've beaten and cursed too." He still wants to become a soul master. Today, I don't know who he's apprenticed to. I took out a black card and threatened to go to Notting City to register for education on my own. Originally, before your death, I promised you that I wouldn't let him become a soul master. The development of the situation was too unexpected. I really can't control him, so I can only let him go to Notting City Junior Soul Master College to study. His talent is really good. He has an innate full soul power of level 20. Maybe, our Holy Soul Village will have a second soul saint. This time, let me be the master. If you want to blame him, then blame me. Old Jack became more and more excited as he spoke, and couldn't help but extend 2 fingers towards the tombstone. You finally agreed. The sudden sound startled Old Jack. Old Jack asked and looked around, only to see a child climbing up a big tree 7 meters away from him. Ye Feng, come down here, Old Jack shouted. I should have been sent to study long ago, Ye Feng said, using both hands and feet to climb down from the big tree and stand beside Old Jack. Grandpa Jack, don't you tell me now. How did my parents die? How did he die? Of course he died of illness. Old Jack's eyes flickered, clearly hiding something. Then he said, Ye Feng, you can make your own lunch. I'm going to Notting City for a trip. What are you doing in the city? Ye Feng asked in confusion. Of course it's for your registration. This time in the city, I hope to secure another spot as a part-time student. After all, our village has also been a place where the soul saint once lived. Old Jack replied. Grandpa Jack, I have the money to sign up. Ye Feng took out the black card given by Ning Fengji. Black card, that's a symbol of status. Only when the assets reach a certain level, will financial institutions gift such savings cards. Grandpa knows you have money. Old Jack touched Ye Feng's head with a kind gaze and continued, but your life is still long and there are still many places to spend money. Becoming a part-time student can save you 5 golden soul coins every semester. 3 months later Tang San convinced Tang Hao and agreed to let Tang San study. Old Jack also managed to secure 2 spots for work students. Accompanied by Ye Feng, we arrived happily at the city of Notting. Originally, Ye Feng insisted on not working and studying, but couldn't resist the frugal and thrifty Old Jack. Unfortunately, in the end, he could only agree to Old Jack's request. Entered the Junior Soul Master Academy as a work student to study. Xiao San and Ye Feng, after you two enter the college, don't leave the college without permission. Grandpa will come to pick you up after the semester ends. Grandpa Jack, are you leaving so soon? A hotel is not something that poor people like us can afford to stay in. You two must strive for excellence. When Grandpa sees you again, I hope you have become soul masters. Old Jack reached out and touched Tang San's hair with one hand and Ye Feng's hair with the other. Beside them, there happened to be a hotel that looked quite upscale. Yes, it's a hotel 1 level higher than a hotel. You guys wait for me. Ye Feng broke free from Grandpa Jack's touch and walked quickly into the hotel. In no time, he walked out from inside again. Ye Feng, what did you do inside just now? Old Jack asked curiously. Take it. Ye Feng reached out and handed a card to Old Jack. What is this? Old Jack asked curiously. The door card is used to open the hotel room door, Ye Feng replied. Gate card. Did you open the room? Old Jack looked at Ye Feng in surprise. Nonsense. Didn't you see it's going to rain? If you catch a cold and have a fever, wouldn't you want me to take care of you? It's so troublesome. Listen to me, stay overnight before leaving. Even if you're on your way now, you won't be able to return to the village before dark. Ye Feng said solemnly. For a moment, old Jack felt that the 6-year-old child in front of him was not a child, but an adult. Nonsense. This is a hotel. I heard they want a golden soul coin for one night, old Jack said in pain. Not one, but two, Ye Feng corrected. What, two? Old Jack looked surprised and quickly handed the door card to Ye Feng, but Ye Feng didn't even take it. Helplessly rebuked, go and refund me quickly. How much food can you buy with 2 gold soul coins? It's impossible. This hotel is not responsible once payment is made. You can't even return it now, Ye Feng smiled. Ye Feng didn't say anything. It's not that he can't even refund even if he wants to, but he threatened the salesperson. If someone else refunds money with their room card, if the salesperson dares to refund, he will give a negative review and complain to the salesperson. You child. Old Jack looked at the door card in his hand, unsure if he should feel happy or painful in his heart. In no time, old Jack, Tang San, and Ye Feng followed the main street to the only junior Soul Master Academy in Notting City. From afar, Ye Feng and his team saw a tall arch. The arch is 20 meters wide and 10 meters high. They are all repaired from hard rocks. There are 2 iron gates under the arch, which are dark and made of high-quality iron. Through the Iron Mountain Gate, one can see a winding continent leading straight to the interior, surrounded by tall trees. At the center of the arch, there are 4 big characters. Notting College. Old Jack, along with Tang San and Ye Feng, had just walked to the front door when he was immediately stopped by the young man guarding the door. What are you doing? Is this a place where you rural people can come? Although old Jack's clothes are neat, in Nottingham, he looks completely like a country bumpkin. This young man, we are from Holy Soul Village. These 2 children are working-class students sent by our village this year. Do you think we need to go through any other procedures? Old Jack quickly apologized. Can golden phoenixes still emerge from the grass nest? Some people in a small village also have soul power. I have been working as a gatekeeper for 4 years, but there have been no part-time students in the college for many years. You are not imposters, are you? The young man sneered at the geological suspect. This is the certificate issued by the deacon of the Martial Soul Hall. Old Jack handed out 2 certificates to the gatekeeper. Oh, the blue-silver grass in the Martial Soul Hall. Or the congenital full soul power. It's funny, it's really funny. The Martial Soul Pear Flower, the congenital full soul power is at level 20. It's funny, it's really funny. I've been working as a gatekeeper for so long, and I've never heard of a student with congenital full soul power. The other one is also at level 20. Why don't you just forge a congenital full title Douluo? The gatekeeper took the proof and looked up and down a few times. The tone was extremely sarcastic, and in the end, he threw 2 certificates on the ground without hesitation. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Rewards for Disruption. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Rewards for Disruption. Brother, could you please take a look again? Is there a problem with our proof? Ye Feng stepped forward, took out a bag, and handed it to the gatekeeper. The proof of the division of the Martial Soul Hall cannot be false. The gatekeeper, who has been working as a gatekeeper for 4 years, cannot distinguish the truth from the falsehood. The Junior Soul Master Academy in Notting City receives new students every year. The saying goes that the King of Hell is easy to deal with, but little ghosts are difficult to deal with. As long as you give the gatekeeper some benefits and take care of them, they will allow people to report in. Old Jack comes from the countryside and is simple, so he doesn't understand these truths. The gatekeeper took the money bag from Ye Feng's hand, opened a gap to take a look, and then weighed it. With a smile on his face, he bent down to pick up the proof he had just thrown on the ground. Grandpa, I made a mistake just now. After my repeated identification, both of these certificates are true. You can go in now, he said with a smile. Ah. Old Jack and Tang San were stunned and looked at the gatekeeper with a sudden 180-degree change in attitude. This truly fulfills the wise saying that money can make ghosts grind. If it doesn't work, then it's just not enough money. Ding dong. Congratulations, you have overturned a storyline in the original plot. Reward attribute point. 1 point. Congratulations, as this is the first time the host has subverted the storyline, the system will reward an additional attribute point of 10. Attribute points. System, what are attribute points? Ye Feng asked curiously. Attribute points have the same effect as soul rings, which can increase various attributes of soul masters, such as strength, agility, spirit, and defense. Unlike soul rings, the system rewards attribute points that can accurately increase the host's ability in certain aspects. As the system spoke, it created a holographic photon screen. Name: Ye Feng. Soul power. Level 30. Martial soul. Xianyuan sword, 9 hearts Xianteng, Hell's Eye. Soul ring. None. Soul skill. None, understanding the unity of man and sword. Extra strength. 0 extra agility. 0 extra spirit. 0 extra defense. 0 assignable attribute points. 11 points. System, extra strength, extra agility, extra spirit, and extra defense, refer to the amplification effect obtained by the system outside of my body. Ye Feng asked thoughtfully. The host's understanding is completely correct. The system kindly reminds that every addition by the host cannot be changed again. The system responded. Attack is the best defense, let's all increase our strength. Ye Feng instructed the system without hesitation. As Ye Feng's voice fell, there were 11 warm currents nourishing his entire body. Ye Feng looked at his hands and could feel a significant increase in strength. As for how much improvement has been made, practical experience is undoubtedly the best way. On the one hand, Tang San's divine expression lit up. He vaguely felt that Ye Feng had changed a bit. Just where there is a difference, he can't say why. 3 of you, you can go in now, the gatekeeper smiled. Grandpa Jack and Tang San, let's go inside, Ye Feng smiled. Wait a minute. A somewhat hoarse voice suddenly sounded from behind Tang San, Ye Feng, and old Jack. The gatekeeper was momentarily stunned, and then quickly handed Ye Feng the money bag and hid it behind him. Nodding and bowing to the visitor, he said, Master, you're back. Ye Feng, old Jack, and Tang San looked at the middle-aged man. This middle-aged man looks around 4 or 50 years old, with short black hair divided into 3 or 7. His appearance is very ordinary, with his hands behind his back, and he has a special temperament on his body, as if he has received noble education. Just between those eyes opening and closing, there is always a hint of laziness and decadence. Ye Feng knew that this person was Yu Xiao Gang. Sir, can you show me the proof of the martial soul hall? Yu Xiaojiang politely reached out his hand to old Jack. After all, old Jack is the village chief, so he can still observe his words and expressions. From the gatekeeper's attitude towards Yu Xiaojiang, it can be seen that his status in the college is not low, and he handed the certificate in his hand to him. Yu Xiaojiang looked at the proof, then at Ye Feng and Tang San. My heart was pounding with excitement, but my face remained calm. Having been a waste for decades, he has long been able to handle changes calmly. Sir, I am the guest of the college. You can hand over the children to me. I will take them to report, Yu Xiaojiang said in a flat tone. Okay. Xiao San and Ye Feng, you should follow the master inside. Remember, you must be obedient. Especially you, Ye Feng, old Jack earnestly instructed. Following Yu Xiaojiang, Ye Feng entered the Junior Soul Master Academy in Nodding City. Next must be Tang San's apprentice Xiaojiang. Ye Feng did not forget that he had just subverted a storyline and received a reward for some attribute points. How many attribute points do you need to reward if you overthrow Tang San's apprentice Xiaojiang? Ye Feng walked at the back of the team, looking at Tang San and Xiaojiang, but ultimately denied his inner thoughts. A day as a teacher, a lifetime as a father. You have received such a great gift from me. Soon, a familiar scene unfolded. Tang San was impressed by the erudite and talented Xiaojiang under his sharp tongue and lips, and became his disciple. And you, Ye Feng. Xiaojiang recruited Tang San and his gaze fell on Ye Feng. For Xiaojiang, Tang San is indeed excellent, but Ye Feng is even more outstanding. Tang San had an innate full soul power of level 10, while Ye Feng had an innate full soul power of level 20. Of course, this is the content written on the proof of the martial soul hull. For Xiaojiang, the person in his heart is not Tang San, but Ye Feng. Me. Why? Ye Feng paused for a moment and asked thoughtfully, don't you also want to take me as an apprentice? Are you willing to let me guide your martial soul? Xiaojiang paused and continued, anyway, you are also the fourth person in the past century to awaken twin martial souls. What? Twin martial souls? Tang San was startled and turned his head in surprise to look at Ye Feng beside him. Exclaimed in shock, teacher, do you think Ye Feng has also awakened his twin martial souls? Xiaojiang definitely nodded, looking at Ye Feng's fiery eyes as if he had seen a golden mountain. What is he doing eating and drinking at Notting College for? Isn't it still to find satisfactory students and prove himself through their students? Xiaojiang never dreamed that he finally arrived, and two people came down. In his opinion, Ye Feng would also become his student like Tang San. Faced with Tang San and Xiaojiang's words, Ye Feng did not deny them, which can be considered as acquiescence. However, he is not a twin martial soul, but a triple martial soul. Are you willing? Xiaojiang asked. Not willing, Ye Feng replied. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. My name is Xiaowu, the Dance of Dancing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. My name is Xiaowu, the Dance of Dancing, can you tell me why? Xiaojiang asked curiously. Because I already have a teacher, Ye Feng replied. You already have a teacher? Xiaojiang asked in surprise. Ye Feng, when did you become a disciple? How come I don't know? Tang San also looked at Ye Feng in surprise. When awakening the martial soul, Ye Feng replied truthfully. Awakening the martial soul. Tang San paused for a moment, pondered for a moment, and exclaimed in surprise, Ye Feng, aren't you apprenticed to Su Yuntao? Su Yuntao. Xiaojiang's expression was taken aback. What's wrong, who should I apprentice to? Do I still need someone else's consent? Ye Feng didn't answer directly, but asked Tang San and Xiaojiang impatiently in his tone. To become a master, one naturally does not need the consent of others. It only requires voluntary consent from both parties. Xiaojiang looked at Ye Feng with pity, sighed softly, and murmured, any soul master can only recognize one master in their lifetime. Unfortunately, such a good seedling. Xiaojiang knew that Su Yuntao's first soul ring was a white soul ring that was 10 years old. A waste that is even more useless than him. However, Xiaojiang did not know that Ye Feng's master was not Su Yuntao, but the guardian of the 7 treasures in glass sect, Douluo Sor Daoqinshin. A title Douluo who dares not even give face to the Pope of the martial soul hall. Following Xiaojiang, Ye Feng and Tang San arrived at the Academic Affairs Office and collected their respective clothes. Tang San apprenticed Xiaojiang and was met with ridicule from the Academic Affairs Office teacher. Of course, Ye Feng's innate full soul power was at level 20, and Tang San's innate full soul power was at level 10, which also caused the size of these teachers. After leaving the academic affairs office, Ye Feng and Tang San followed the guidance of the teachers and went to the 7th dormitory where the working students lived. Ye Feng, I don't know why, I feel like you've changed people. Tang San walked as he probed Ye Feng's mouth. Why do you say that? Ye Feng asked. Just now at the security guard, I didn't even know to pay. But you know, you're much more sensible than me. Tang San tilted his head and stared at Ye Feng, wanting to not miss any facial detail. As a result, he was disappointed. Hee, what's there? If you listen to more stories, you'll understand. Ye Feng smiled and guessed that Tang San was probing his mouth. Tang San is a time traveler, with a mind that surpasses his peers by too much. In Tang San's heart, since he could travel here, perhaps others could also travel here. Tang San is a twin martial soul, and Ye Feng is also a twin martial soul. Tang San practiced Xiantian Gong, and when he awakened his martial soul, his soul power was level 10. Ye Feng is completely incapable of cultivation except for doing farm work. However, the difference in soul power between the two is 10 levels. In Tang San's heart, Ye Feng is likely also a time traveler. So probing Ye Feng's mouth like this. The gate of Qixia is open, leaving a gap. Finally arrived. Ye Feng was excited in his heart, and he was about to receive a reward again. Ye Feng saw Tang San wanting to reach out and push open the door. With a clever move, he quickly pushed open the door of Qixia before Tang San. A sound of breaking through the air came, and Ye Feng had already anticipated it. He reached out his hand and grabbed the fist that the opponent had swung. The assailant wanted to draw out his fist, but he was grabbed tightly by Ye Feng, and his fist was completely drawn out. Helplessly, the attacker could only wave their left arm and use a left hook punch towards Ye Feng. Ye Feng raised his mouth slightly and extended his left hand, grabbing the opponent's left fist as well. The impatient assailant could only move their feet and kicked Ye Feng's crotch with a desperate move. So ruthless. Ye Feng raised his eyebrows slightly. If Ye Feng's crotch is kicked, it will definitely be enough for him to howl for a while. Dong, a slight sound sounded. It turned out that Ye Feng's legs and knees were close together. The attacker's foot kicked Ye Feng's knee. Ah! A painful scream popped out of the attacker's mouth, and his facial features were contorted. Even bystanders could feel the pain. Ye Feng exerted a slight force on his hands, and a force spread, shaking the attacker to the ground. An immense sense of pride in one's heart. Since Ye Feng awakened his martial soul, although he has not yet obtained a soul ring, even if the Eye of Hell is not used, his insight is not comparable to that of Wang Xingning, who does not have a soul ring at this time. When Ye Feng entered the gate of Nodding College, he obtained 11 attribute points, all of which were increased to strength. So the power of Ye Feng now is not comparable to that of Wang Sheng at this time. It hurts me so much. Wang Sheng was holding his legs on the ground. Just now he kicked as if he had hit a stone with force. Can it not hurt? Who are you and why did you ambush Ye Feng? Tang San asked coldly. If it weren't for Ye Feng being one step faster just now, then the person being attacked now would be Tang San. So, Tang San is particularly concerned about the reasons behind the situation. My name is Wang Sheng, the martial soul warrior tiger, the future war soul master, and I am the leader of this dormitory. Thank you for your mercy. According to the rules, if you defeat me, you will be the leader of the 7 houses in the future. Wang Sheng introduced himself and waved his hand. The 6 working class students in the room immediately stood in 2 rows. Boss! 6 working class students shouted in unison. Boss! Ye Feng smiled. The word boss really makes people's blood boil. Yes. This is the rule of our 7 shis, whoever has a hard fist is the boss. Wang Sheng clenched his fist and quickly explained. Yes, that's the rule. Boss. 6 working-class students once again respectfully addressed Ye Feng in unison. Ye Feng smiled with relief and could only accept this title. Looking around the room, there are a total of 50 beds, but only 11 beds have bedding. Are you also a part-time student this year? Wang Xing's gaze fell on Tang San. Yes, Tang San replied. According to the rules, you need to have a fight with the boss. Whoever wins is the boss, Wang Xing said seriously. Me. Tang San smiled and shook his head. Forget it, I'm here to learn. No, rules are rules, we can't just break them like this, Wang Xing said firmly in his tone. Tang San looked at the others and nodded when he saw them. Continuing to look at Ye Feng, he thought to himself, what's good about being the boss of a working-class student? If he becomes the boss, it will definitely cause a lot of trouble and may affect his cultivation. Seeing Wang Xing persistently, a flash of inspiration flashed in his mind and he smiled, saying, I am not his opponent. I have innate full soul power at level 10, but he has innate full soul power at level 20. What? A congenital soul power level 10. Another innate soul power level 20. Wang Xing and other engineering students were stunned. Looking at Tang San and Ye Feng with a monster-like gaze. At this moment, a silver bell-like pleasant sound came from the door. Excuse me, is this the 7th house? P.S. Xiaowu. Dee-dee-da, I finally made my debut. Where is the recommended ticket? Where is the collection located? If I feel too much, I won't call it Xiaowu. End of this chapter. Chapter 10 Xiaowu. First kiss seems to be gone. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Xiaowu. First kiss seems to be gone. At the entrance of Qisha, there stands a little girl. The little girl is pretty, about the same height as Ye Feng, and she appears to be only 6 years old. The skin is white and red inside, clearly different from others. The pink and tender face looks like a ripe peach, making people want to take a bite. The little girl was dressed plainly, wearing a pink short skirt, revealing her slender fair calves. The brown whip is combed into a fried dough twist shape, and the length is just up to the hips. A pair of watery big eyes were curiously scrutinizing the decorations in the 7 mansions. The most peculiar thing is that this little girl has a pair of pale pink rabbit ears, which is like a finishing touch. Coupled with the little girl's big eyes, it is truly cute and captivating, not worth it. Girl! Tang San exclaimed in surprise. We are only at Junior Soul Master College here, and we don't need to distinguish between genders for the time being. Only when we reach an intermediate Soul Master College do we need to live separately between men and women. Last year and the year before, there was no working student, but this year there are actually 3. Wang Xing explained while feeling deeply moved. Didn't anyone answer me? Is this Qisha? The little girl continued to ask. This is Qisha, Wang Xing replied, his eyes resting on Ye Feng. He reached out his hand and pressed it against Ye Feng's back, giving him a push. Boss, the newcomer has arrived, we must try our skills. Go ahead, give her a push. Ye Feng was still looking at Xiaowu when he was pushed forward by Wang Xing. Watching Xiaowu, I was stunned. He must admit that Xiaowu is really very cute. Xiaowu was a bit timid, and her watery big eyes moved. Remembering the instructions from the villagers, when going out, smile more and not punch the smiling face. Immediately revealing a sweet smile, she took the initiative to introduce herself and said, Hello everyone, my name is Xiaowu. I'm Xiaowu, the size of Xiaowu, a dancing dance. Hello, my name is Ye Feng. It's the leaves of the leaves, the peaks of the mountains. It's the leader here. Boss. Xiaowu couldn't help but interrupt Ye Feng's self-introduction and jokingly asked, the leaves of the leaves, the peaks of the mountains. There are both leaves and peaks. My martial soul is a rabbit. So, aren't you my home? Hee, you're really interesting. Ye Feng smiled and continued to introduce himself. My martial soul is a pear blossom. It's like this, our 7 houses have a rule that new students must compete with the leader. The loser must listen to the winner, and the winner must be respected. So, we need to compete. Are you sure? Xiaowu asked confidently with a smile on her face. I'm sure. Ye Feng definitely nodded. Ye Feng's martial soul is not a pear blossom, but a 9-heart Xiantang that has mutated from the 9-heart Haitang. Since the martial soul hall has proven that Ye Feng's martial soul is a pear blossom, in order to avoid unnecessary trouble, Ye Feng cleverly temporarily identifies himself as a pear blossom martial soul. Let's just make the right move. As a time traveler, Ye Feng knows that Xiaowu now possesses the first soul skill, the waist bow. Although he learned the powerful combination of man and sword from his master Kendo Qinshin, he has not yet entered the threshold. However, Ye Feng is confident that with the added strength, he should be able to restrain Xiaowu. Moreover, he knows a fatal flaw of Xiaowu's waist bow. Ye Feng thought to himself that as long as he made good use of Xiaowu's fatal flaw, he could defeat her. Once again overturning a storyline. Yes, Ye Feng wants to be the boss. Alright, come on then. Xiaowu excitedly handed the things in her hand to Wang Sheng. When Wang Sheng took what was in Xiaowu's hand, he didn't wait for Ye Feng to catch his breath. Xiaowu's fast whine swept the floor and attacked Ye Feng with her legs crossed. Fortunately, Ye Feng's eyes were sharp and his hands were fast. With a strong step, he bounced back and dodged Xiaowu's attack. Xiaowu couldn't make a single hit, tiptoed slightly, and continued to chase towards Ye Feng. The two of you come and go, punching and kicking each other, chasing and hiding, and hitting and defending. It's hard to give up or separate. The more they fight, the more Xiaowu admires Ye Feng. As a soul beast with a lifespan of 100,000 years, she has such rich practical experience. However, Ye Feng, a 6-year-old child, can still compete with him on an equal footing. In the Star Forest, even the Titan Ape and the Sky Blue Bull Python have to call out, "Little Dance Sister." Boss. Xiaowu is getting excited, she's going to settle for the leader of Qixia. Suddenly, during the battle, Xiaowu's body lit up with a light. First soul skill. Waist Bao Xiaowu, who was able to get close to Ye Feng, saw him as a mountain peak and kept climbing with both hands on his body. Sometimes it appears to the right of Ye Feng, and sometimes it appears to the left of Ye Feng. When you thought she was behind you, she suddenly swam weakly and boneless in front of you. Grasping your hands, with a proud curve at the corners of your mouth, your legs staring towards your waist. A great trick for rabbits to kick eagles, speaking late, then fast. As Xiaowu grabbed Ye Feng's wrist and was about to succeed, Ye Feng's eyes were sharp and his hands were quick, with a proud curve on his lips. Ye Feng is waiting for this moment. Dong Ye Feng's palm suddenly turned back, grabbing Xiaowu's wrist just like Xiaowu was grabbing her wrist. At the same time, he forcefully stepped on his foot and rushed forward with ease. It's worth mentioning that Xiaowu is in front of Ye Feng at this moment. Bang! Before Xiaowu could even stare at Ye Feng's waist, he was thrown onto the ground by Ye Feng like a fierce tiger pouncing on a rabbit. Ouch! Under the pain of eating, Xiaowu let out a painful cry. The next second, Xiaowu's nerves were tense and tight. I saw Ye Feng, due to the inertia of his fall, his head. Oh no, it's not his head, but his lips are actually moving towards Xiaowu's lips. Oh no! Xiaowu exclaimed in frustration. First/kiss. It seems like it's almost gone. This is the idea that came to Xiaowu's mind. Xiaowu's mind was blank, wanting to cover it with her hands, but it all happened too quickly to make any reaction. 1 second, 2 seconds, 5 seconds. Xiaowu stared blankly at Ye Feng, who was within reach. I couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Ye Feng's nose is only a short distance of 2 or 3 centimeters from her. Her first kiss was saved. Ye Feng and Xiaowu, big-eyed and small-eyed, you look at me, I look at you. You can't get up yet. Xiaowu glared angrily at Ye Feng, blushing with embarrassment. She had never suffered such a big loss before. Excuse me. Ye Feng said. Ye Feng let go of Xiaowu and got up from her. Xiaowu also got up from the ground, touching her almost blooming buttocks in pain. She looked at Ye Feng with a sorrowful expression, blushing and asking, according to the rules here, should I call you the boss in the future? Ding dong. Congratulations, subverting the storyline of Douluo. Before Tang San, he defeated Wang Sheng. After sparring with Xiaowu, he saved his position as the leader of Qi Shi. The reward can be arbitrarily allocated attribute points. 3 points. End of this chapter.